Can we move past this? Baby, can we patch it up? We both want it.
Yo, here. Why do I feel so low? Yeah. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Baseball's back. So am I. been a couple weeks, man. Everything that could go wrong, not everything, I won't say that. But there's been a lot of stuff interfering with my ability to consistently stream in the last couple weeks. Namely the weather. If you guys watch the news, it has been wet, rainy, a lot of power flicks, internet outages, trees falling. It's crazy. And then I've just been pretty busy. I got a lot of responsibilities outside of this. So sometimes, every now and then, that's gonna sneak up front. I just gotta do it. But I did lay out a pretty elaborate schedule for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully I can honor it to a T. And hopefully we do 4 streams a week on the YouTube channel. At least 4. It's looking like Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. So that would be Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday. Let me double check. Basically on days where baseball is pretty late instead of all day. Let me see. So like next week, so next week I've got scheduled Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. And we know Sunday's a noon lock. We don't stream that. Wednesday's kind of like split all day. And then Thursday was a 5-game slate. So that might be the blueprint for streaming the next couple weeks on the YouTube channel. Twitch is just 3 days a week right now. And I got wrestling next Sunday, so that's the short-term thought. I don't know. This channel streams sometimes. Hope you guys had a good All-Star break. All-Star break for me for the last couple years hasn't been as appreciated as it is this year. Of course, the 10 years prior when I was grinding all sports, we had 2 weeks off a year, the NBA All-Star break, the baseball All-Star break, and that's when I scheduled most of my real-life vacations. This All-Star break, man, I just wanted to chill and relax, and I did. Anyway, we had a lot of baseball tonight. We got 14 games to look at. We did most of the spreadsheet already, but I saved the pitcher projections for the show. So we're going to go game by game here, briefly overview lineups, totals, pitching matchups. A couple names have changed from last night. And get our pitcher projections set up through the MLBGrind.com premium spreadsheet. At the All-Star break, we've always done this. I no longer pull stats from the beginning of last year. Now, this does shorten the sample on some guys, and it might create some wonky results, but I feel like for the most part, with player progression and regression, you got to find a happy medium somewhere. So I've just always, you know what, All-Star break, bam, that's when we stop pulling from last year and we go this year. And that's the same for pitching as well. So the bomb detector will probably feature not as Ohtani Judge, but the chalky names at the top, and that's when it's fun, and that's what I like. So something to keep an eye on if you guys are premium members at MLBGrind.com. Just a quick look at the bomb detector now. Like Addison Barger's at the top, then Ohtani, then Andrew Vaughn, Jackson Chourio, guys like that. Let me actually pull in the home run odds since I'm thinking about it. And we could fetch it. Also today, Flex Friday. Even though I was beefing with PrizePicks on the Twitter, they made it right. So I will participate in Flex Friday. So we'll look for a couple of free picks on that throughout this stream. I think I was looking last night and it was like kind of a tight board, and you kind of expect that, right? It's not quite a full reset by the league, but it kind of is, right? You think about opening day and how it's all a lot of day one starters. Well, they just had a week off, so a lot of teams can hit the reset button, but then a lot of teams don't. Like people who had their starters play in the All-Star game, like the Yankees. Now we're using an opener today. So in some spots it's gonna help a team, some spots not really. Prop line 718. All right, let's get this sorted. True. And we'll use Fanduel as our point of reference. Copy. And that should set up the bounty checker. I like the bounty checker. All right. There we go. All right, game number one. Couple games on this early slate. The Chicago White Sox taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We got Jonathan Cannon up against Bailey Falter. We do have a confirmed White Sox lineup. White Sox do have a 3.9 run total, 4.8 for the Pirates. That's one of the higher run totals you'll see on the Pirates at home. But it is the Chicago White Sox. Chase Mydroth, Austin Slater, Edward Cuero, Miguel Vargas, batting cleanup, Andrew Benintendi, Luis Robert Jr., Lennon Sosa, Colson Montgomery, and Michael A. Taylor. Another thing we did as far as pulling stats, and I might turn around on this one later, the ballpark factor stats, I've also isolated them to this year as well, which may be unfair, and I'm thinking it out loud now. For instance, PNC Park, their team sucks, so the ballpark factors are going to be a little bit more unfair than usual, I imagine. So maybe I should pull it the beginning of last season. But basically, I was trying to accomplish a couple of stadiums adjustments, mainly the athletics from stadium to stadium. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I also feel like maybe it hasn't, because Andrew Vaughn. Oh wait, he plays for a different team now. All right. Bailey Falter, Jonathan Cannon, probably two guys I'm not that interested in pitching. Jonathan Cannon, a 17.8% K rate on the season with a 1.4 whip, 4.95 expected ERA, absolutely getting shredded by lefties. A 273 average allowed to lefties, 1.63 on the home run per nine, and a 152 last season. So that's 2 years strong of left-handed hitters bopping him. And it's not like his underlying metrics, are screaming homers, right? He still has a 40+% ground ball rate and a low line drive rate. But when they square him up, square him up, almost a 10% barrel rate. The thing with the Pirates is you don't really look at the Pirates and expect a lot of power, especially from the left side. O'Neill Cruz, likely the guy. I don't know why he's hidden down here in the 5-hole on the Pirates lineup, but he'd be the most likely pre-flop guy to take advantage of that. The only Pirate this year with an ISO against righties over 140, but especially 200. And 200 is kind of like the magic number where I start looking for power. So we'll see if the actual lineup for the Pirates promotes O'Neill Cruz to be in a more desirable position. But he's absolutely the backbone of this one for me. And then Jack Sawinski, this is another guy that's probably victimized by me pulling stats to the beginning of this season versus last year, where historically we've seen more power out of Jack Sawinski. We look at last year against righties, 8 homers, not great, but we go to his batted ball data. 35.5% hard contact, 45% pull rate, and a 35% fly ball rate. Whereas this year, versus righties, the hard contacts dropped to 30%, a 38% pull rate. Fly ball rate's still up there, but the at-bat sample small. So it's not like I'm saying that I think Sawinski's a GOAT, but I do think he's going to be one of these guys that suffers in the model from dropping the stat sources. Man, he is striking out 24 strikeouts in 50 at-bats. It's kind of crazy. I mean, that's kind of crazy. And Jonathan Cannon, not really a guy that's here to strike you out. So this is a unstoppable force, immovable object of suck. But if you're buying into the run total, you maybe look a couple Pirates bats here. Luckily, it's on the 3-game early, so if you're attacking it for DFS, you're probably a little bit more concerned with the main slate. But it makes sense to at least riffle through the feathers of a 5-run team. How do we shake this one out? Inversely, Bailey Falter's not that alluring to me. A 15% K rate. Actually giving up a higher average 3 years running to lefties and righties. You're not going to see a lefty other than Colson Montgomery from the White Sox team. But the home run per nine is pretty split on both sides. 1.32 against righties this season. Isolating power versus lefties this season. Austin Slater, Andrew Benintendi. I guess he could take advantage of that lefty. I missed him. And Luis Robert. So, man, this is one of those games where pre-flop, I like the team with a 1-run total less than the favorites here. And a lot of positive WRC pluses, again, based on this year alone in that split. So I kind of like the White Sox more than I do like the Pirates here. But it's just because I know the Pirates suck. So do the White Sox. But the White Sox at least look better in this split. So I'd probably shake this out for me personally. This White Sox. And that's it. That's it. I don't really want to touch it. What's up, Earth to Air? I forgot to pull up weather. Make sure there's no weather today. Looks like there could be a little kiss, a dollop of rain in this one. Says chances of something being heavy enough for delay for a particular shower ending up over the ballpark are slim, so it should be all right. All right, not much I'm gonna like from this game. If I'm home run hunting from the White Sox, it's probably Austin Slater. Probably Austin Slater. What can you get from him for fantasy? You can't get a fantasy point for Slater, huh? 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. That's a dicey roll on a team with a 3 implied run total, so I probably don't touch that. Benintendi's kind of a fun attack to reverse splits on both sides click, but I'm thinking I'm leaving this alone. Next up, we got the Padres and the Nationals. So this game does involve weather. Scattered showers and storms. Right now, models have some showers early, potential storms late. I think there's some sort of window for baseball between those two things, but I can't time out all the details yet. So we will, in solidarity, put some orange on that. Weather potential here. Potential. Okay. Here. And then we'll give Mr. Roth a link. And we'll go from there. Dylan Cease taking on Mike Soroka. Dylan Cease, 29% K rate on the season, 3.65 expected ERA, 4.8 actual ERA. Kind of unlucky there, but you see he's got some extreme splits going on. 2.95 xFIP to righties, a 3.91 xFIP to lefties. Meanwhile, Mike Soroka, a 3.21 expected ERA with a 5.35 actual ERA. So much like Dylan Cease, also perhaps dealing with some luck. xFIP pretty split as a sub-4 to both sides. Looks like the unluckiness is perhaps in his home runs allowed to lefties. Right? A 7% barrel rate, 33% hard contact rates, respectable, a 43% ground ball rate, but somehow has a 2 home run per 9 to lefties going right now. So maybe we'll expect some regression on that, but it's not like he's never been a home run guy, especially the lefties. That's been his bugaboo the last couple of years. So might just be who he is. Both pitchers have very respectable strikeout rates. And Soroka's strikeout rate, maybe a little bit surprising when you compare it to his swinging strike rate. His C strike, or his called plus swinging strike rate at 18.2%. So that's actually higher than Dylan Cease. But that's what happens when you give up some of your called strikes for your swinging strikes. And inversely, Cease a 16% swinging strike rate, pushing his K rate to 29%. So both guys have some strikeout stuff, but these two offenses, unlike the previous game, are a little bit more scary and not as prone to striking out. So, oh, by the way, we didn't do pitcher projections for the last game. We got to go back on that. So I think this is one of those, likely the two most talented. Maybe Jesus Luzardo is going to get introduced. Yeah, I think Jesus Luzardo will probably usurp those two as far as matchup and talent goes, but especially because of weather. So if the weather card is played, unless you're pretty certain on a postponement or a mid-game delay, you're kind of just biting a bullet here. And in which case, I guess I'm leaning towards Cease and then Soroka, but it's not a snap call. I think just Cease earns his strikeouts a little bit more. But like I said, both teams, not big on striking out. Man, Luis Arraez this season, a 1.9% K rate against righties. That's kind of crazy. A lot of sub 20%. Only Jackson Merrill, Trenton Brooks, Martin Maldonado in the projected have above average K rates. And then inversely, on the national side, very, very few high K rate guys. One of them is James Wood, arguably their best pure hitter. So you are kind of asking for a lot here. So you might be betting on talent and just kind of bet on who might give you a shot at 20 fantasy points on a 3-game slate. Both guys obviously very likely to do that. So the weaknesses here. For Soroka, we're looking for homers from lefties. That'll probably push up Jackson Merrill. Just a 150 ISO this year against righties. Gavin Sheets, a 220 plus ISO against righties. Those two guys seem pretty good for that big swing. And then inversely, Dylan Cease has been giving up homers to both sides of the plate, but has a 3-year rolling stretch of certainly surrendering homers to lefties. James Wood, usually the first lefty on the Nationals I'm looking at for power, but he's got to get around that 28% K rate. But it is complemented by a pretty high walk rate as well. So look for Wood and maybe Nate Lowe to be the guy Cease has to really, really get around. Let's kind of like the White Sox. Yeah, it's it's crazy going game to game now with the new stats and seeing some pretty stark contrast to the broader sample from the beginning of last year. But I think that's kind of the point. We got to add some substance to these pitcher strikeouts. So let's go back a game real quick. Jonathan Cannon, we're going to give him a K rate of 17.8. Falter, 14.9. Walk right here, we're gonna go 8.3. Falter, we're gonna go, we're Rusty, 7. And then we're gonna go Padres, 29% on the Cease K rate. And neither one of these guys have like extreme splits on their strikeouts, so we'll just trust the overall. As a point of reference, 26%. Walk rate, let's go 8.8. Soroka, 6. And now we need to go look at some innings pitch. I wonder if they even offer one for the Nats game. 16.5, 15.5. They do not. So I'm going to go 17.5 on both. I imagine that's fair. Maybe it's too much for Mikey. 4 times 3, 12. Let's give him a 14.5 for Soroka. And then let's go Cease. 17.5. I think it's fair for him. And let's give Cease 3 because that puts his implied earned runs at 2.59. So I'll go 3.5 on a quality start. Yeah. I don't know what these crowns are in chat, but they're kind of cool. All right, last game on this early slate. And by the way, nothing here screams at something I want to put a prop bet on, especially with the weather. So I'm going to leave that out of the hunt for a flex card. By the way, Padres lineup is out. Tatis, Luis Arraez, Machado, Gavin Sheets, then Jackson Merrill. They swap, and that puts the higher ISO in the cleanup spot. Jake Cronenworth, Jordan Brooks, and Elias Diaz over Maldonado. Doesn't change a whole lot. All right, lastly, on this early slate, we got both confirmed lineups for our Citizens Bank Park matchup. Zach Neto, Nolan Samuel, Mike Trout, Taylor Ward, Joe Adele, Jorge Soler, Logan O'Hoppe, Luis Rengifo, and Kevin Newman. And I got a different picture now. Now I've got Ryan Zephyron. And last night I had Soriano. So we're going to have to do some digging on that. Phillies lineup: Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, Brandon Marsh, JT Real, Mito, Mother Freaker type. There we go. And then Bryson Stott in the 9-hole. I'm losing it. Angels with a 3.8 run total. Phillies with a 5.4. So let's figure out what's going on with this pitching. So I'm going to Twitter search the name Jose Soriano. And I keep coming with a bunch of trade. So I guess today's a bullpen game. And the Angels bullpen is atrocious. Zephyr. What's up, Desmond? Hope you're doing all right, bud. Via Twitter, it looks like a big... How is your first game back from the All-Star break a bullpen game? Let's be honest. Angels weren't loaded in the All-Star game. Like, what are we doing? I guess there's nothing to research. If the Angels are going bullpen game, they have a bottom one bullpen. I don't know. I know their bullpen it's like them, the D-backs, the Nationals. So we kind of just bet on talent. Bottom three. Nationals, the Athletics have usurped them, and the D-backs are there, so I was kind of right. Yeah, I don't know that they have a bulk guy. They do have Reed Detmers, who has historically been a starter, but that doesn't look like his role this year. But I guess they're just gonna call some former. He's been a starter, so he might be a bulky guy that hasn't pitched in a long time. All these guys suck, so just bet on talent here. Mike Trout, he's I believe he's from Jersey, but he's always been kind of a Philly guy. I know he's a big Eagles fan, so there's probably some narrative going there that you should care about. No, actually, Mike Trout does seem to be pretty good about narratives. Philly side, all right, so Phillies are going to be probably the most alluring part of this early slate, definitely offensively. And then Jesus Luzardo is probably going to be the most alluring pitcher when it comes to matchup, not having weather, and being a large favorite, right? 27.3% K rate for him, a 3.47 expected ERA, pretty solid stats. Against righties, he does push that xFIP up to 3.7. He's only going to see one lefty, so we can really dive into that. And his K rate kind of declines to a 24% versus the 40+% he's able to strike out lefties with. But man, I said this the other day, and this is even before we isolated stats this year. Mike Trout's stats against lefties, and he's been injury riddled the last 2 years, so it is a sample size thing. But it's kind of crazy to see Mike Trout's name against some of these numbers, right? 208 average this season in 48 at bats with 20 strikeouts and just 1 homer. And then last year against lefties, batted under 100, but just 13 at bats with no homers. So he's certainly a victim of sample. And even if my stats were still pulling from the beginning of last year, it would look pretty bad. Obviously, we just got to remember it's Mike Trout. There's probably a better left-handed hitter, and 3 years ago he was pretty doggone good at it, batting 280 against lefties. That was higher than his righty split with a couple bombs and extra base hits. So something to keep in mind, but it is kind of crazy to see a 47 WRC plus next to Mike Trout's name when we isolate the splits this season. Not much to love here, but there is still some power, and that's been the story of the Angels season. Strikeout power, right? A poor man's Mariners. 258 ISO against lefties for Zach Neto, almost 300 for Taylor Ward, 281 for Joe Adele, and 273 for Logan O'Hoppe, who has also been hitting for a pretty solid average in that split. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory here. Pre-flop, we're going Phillies, Luzardo. That's probably going to be the anchors of this 3-game early slate, with a lot hinging on the weather in Washington. So let's put a pitching projection here. I really don't know what to expect out of the this bullpen game in your first game back from All-Star break, but we know what we might expect from Luzardo. So let's go 23 point. Actually, we might pull Luzardo's K rate down a little bit because it might be held up. Like 27 is the cumulative. I'm gonna put it at 24, and no matter what, the aggregate K rate for the Angels is gonna pull that up. But I just wanted to be a little bit more balanced on that. And then walk rates here. Let's go. Is 12 right? Yeah, 30. No, 18. Yeah, that's probably stifled by short sample. Luzardo's walk rates. Let's go 6%, and then Luzardo's out projection 17.5. So to get this straight is if this I'll put 5.5 on Jeffers or whatever. If the Nats game gets smacked by rain, it probably pulls 2 of the top 3 pitchers, and then you're not going to gamble on Angels relievers. So you're pretty much forced to make a cannon and falter decision. I think the process would be to pitch the guy against a team with a much lower run total. But me personally, I hate that. So ill early slate, ill. Bomb detector from this early couple games. Kyle Schwarber's at the top. That's who's standing out, Kyle Schwarber. So I guess let's see if there's anything for Phillies that we can take a stab at, or at least put it on an early list, you know. Mike Trout, 7 fantasy points. 6.5 Ks for Luzardo. What is our projection pulling for Luzardo Ks? It's pulling 6.72. So that's linear. 36.5 fantasy points. That feels low. If he gets to a quality start. What is our projection? 35? Nah. That's not really giving him the win. If we gave him the win, which we should, yeah, it's about fair. All right. Do we get hitter fantasy points from this game? Really looking for something on Schwarber. 7 fantasy points. Bryce has been pretty solid too. But he is not given anything. Oh, he is 7.5. Appropriate. Hits plus run plus RBIs. That's probably where I would land on Schwarber and Bryce Harper, right? Those guys probably not threatening to steal. Definitely not Schwarber, right? And both in a great spot. I especially love Schwarber's 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. Right? We look at that. The walks is the out, but put a 6-man flex on PrizePicks. I don't know if I'm gonna end up with 6, but I'm cooking. So early candidate, we will throw it. Kyle Schwarber, 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I think you could extend that to Bryce as well. And Bryce is probably the more hit for average one of the two. But I don't care. I hate these walk rates, man. These are crazy. But these two are incredible spot for that, right? High OBP guys above them, especially for Harper. And with a guy like Turner, put himself in scoring position. So might nominate both for hits plus runs plus RBIs. Although with Harper, you got to pay a tax. So you either get the discount or go all the way up to 3.5. So I think Schwarber is there on that. And then what do they call them? Goblins and demons? Demon, goblin. Maybes. We'll put Harper 1.5 or 3.5 hits, runs with RBIs. So it looks like Schwarber's the most solid though. Flex. You like, okay, you had Schwarber, Aranda, Will Smith, Springer, Seager. Nice. The last leg is the NBA Summer League play. Last Saturday, I had to like panic enter a lineup to take advantage of that. There was some WNBA half a point prop, and I just picked. I truly don't remember who I picked. I think I picked like two. I picked the Red Sox. I think Ceddanne Rafaela. We went from like the 9-hole crossing his line to like the 2-hole. And I can't remember the other two, but it was two guys on the same team. I think it was twins bets. Maybe Larnack and Willie Castro. If I can, that sounds about right. Okay. Let's move on to the main slate. Make sure these lineups didn't come out on me. Nope. Giants in Toronto facing the Blue Jays. We got Justin Verlander taking on Chris Bassett. Blue Jays do have a confirmed lineup. Nathan, Luke, Stuart Springer, Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Addison Barger, Alejandro Kirk, Joey Loperfido, Ernie Clement, and Will Wagner. I don't know. Willie? That's stupid. 4.4, no, 4.0, and a 4.7 run total for our respective offenses. Chris Bassett, man, I had so much hope for him this season. He is completely regressed to his numbers against lefties from last year, and that's nearly a 300 average allowed, a 1.4 plus home run per 9 allowed. He's one of those guys, he's hard to predict pitch by pitch because he's got like 80 of them. So we just let the splits kind of do the talking, and in 3 years rolling, he's got a 4+ xFIP against lefties. So who takes advantage of that? Yastrzemski, Rafi Devers, obviously, to a much lesser extent, a Young-Ho Lee or someone like that. So I think the eyes immediately gravitate towards the Blue Jays offense in this one as we get the much lesser version of Justin Verlander. This season, Verlander, 4.82 expected ERA, sub 20% K rate. Does still have an 11.6% swing and strike rate, but he also has a 10% barrel rate, which is as high as we've seen it in a long time. I feel like there was one season where he was really struggling with the Tigers right before he went to the Astros and got reborn. But yeah, this is a very beatable, very hittable version of Justin Verlander. And we will be attacking him. Both sides of the plate hitting 270 plus. I do wonder what his home road splits look like, just because his home park is such a spacious pitcher's park. So at home, a 4.5 ERA, away almost a 5 ERA. At home, a 270 average, on the road 280. So the road does absorb more, but it's not like insane. What's the biggest split? The biggest split is 30-point difference between his, or no, I'm lying. Home versus lefty is, no. It's for splits like this, it is pretty even. So I was just wondering if there was some bit of luck going his way. Anyway, not that interested in Verlander. This is a Blue Jays lineup that doesn't strike out. They have a 16.5% aggregate K rate. Verlander, a sub 20% K rate as it is. That might mean his K prop is like 4.5. Just out of curiosity. 4. Okay. So if we were going pitching here, it'd probably be on the Bassett side, as the Giants do strike out enough. Only Young-Ho Lee in this lineup has a below average K rate worth picking on. Everyone else, though, pretty solid WRC pluses in this split. And this is an offense, you put them on the road versus at home, and they can only be better, right? I'm going to go Blue Jays offense as my top interest in this game. There's a little bit of curiosity in Chris Bassett. I think Bassett's fun to play because, you know, his pitch count can bust through 100, and he can get to 6+ innings pretty consistently. And at 8,100, I think that's a pretty fair price for his range of outcomes with a little bit of ceiling on it. So I'll put a little Chris Bassett in the blender. Not falling in love here. Let's go do some pitcher projections. So for Verlander, we'll go 20% K rate. For Bassett, we'll go 22.4. What's up, Chevy? Because our host can't tell time. No, that's a PrizePicks thing, dude. You guys all see it. Matter of fact, I'm sure if I go to PrizePicks right now, nah, I can't put them on blast, right? No, okay, of course it's not there now. But you guys know that when they do this timer countdown crap, sometimes it shows it's about to lock and it's really got hours left. Yeah. Hope you've been all right, Chevy. Let's go 8% walk rate. And then for Bassett, 6.5. Alex, do we 17.5 both of them or just one? 17.5 for Bassett, 15.5 for Verlander. And then for Bassett, we can give him a... I did that backwards. Bassett, we'll give him a little bit of a QS. All right, so what stands out to me in this game was the fact that Addison Barger was the #1 rated player on the bomb detector. And this is something you don't see a lot with bomb detector ratings, is there's pretty neutral odds based on what we put as fair odds versus what you're getting on the market. Now, we really like to do this for like obscene value opportunities. Like, I don't know, Caleb Durbin. Don't bet this, but there's a 569 point difference between the fair odd and his Fanduel odds. But Barger's at the top, and that's pretty neutral here. So in the 5-hole, I think I want to look at hits plus runs plus RBIs for him, and then also maybe we look at fantasy points. I'm starting to fall more in love. Oh, 5.5 fantasy points. Wow. That seems really light, yeah? I mean, that's an RBI double, yeah? No, RBI double... Yeah, that's an RBI double. I'm thinking that's where we're going on that. And then we can scoop and score something on a walk if we had to. Walks. He doesn't walk. And I imagine he doesn't steal bases. Got 3 stolen bases on the season. I think I'm going to lean the fantasy points there, but I think that makes the list. Right, top of the bomb detector. I'm going to go 5.5 fantasy points. Does that seem egregious? Like, am I tripping? 271 average, 266 ISO, 861 OPS. That seems really light. 5 run total, 4.7. No, we want him against lefties, yeah. Verlander versus lefties. 385 expected batting average on his #1. That's not what you want. 175 on the slider, 303 on the curveball, 313 on the sweeper. Generating a decent amount of whiffs from that slider. Slider's his best pitch, but you can't always get yourself in a slider count. He's still getting some good whiffs for the old man. Look at the pitch report here. Barger is pretty neutral individual pitch results, but overall doing just fine. So Barger's fantasy points, I think we're nominating here. You had Springer fantasy points, Josh. He is batting second. He is waking up, it looks like. He's also hitting righties at a good clip. So that may not be a bad... Maybe I'm a little too in love with the bomb detector rating here. Matter of fact, let's just look at this game. Um, 6.5 for Springer Dinger. Hits plus runs plus RBIs. So I do like. So basically, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but if you want some even or better odds for Springer's hits plus runs plus RBIs, you have to go 2.5, which basically means 3. So a combination of And if he hits 3.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs, he probably hits 6.5 fantasy points. You know what I mean? So it just seems like unless you really want the boost, you can kind of line shop in their own site on that. So yeah, if you wanted some Springer, looks like fantasy points is certainly the better way to go. And Vladdy's a little bit more like it, but 2.5 isn't as egregious, right? I'll put Springer down. These are just candidates, right? We don't have to lock them all in yet. A little bit of stolen base upside. Does he? I've been sleeping on that. I need to do something. I don't know. I don't want to get too lost in SBs, but yeah, 11 stolen bases. Yeah, I like that call. He's got, Jesus, 4 stolen bases in the last month. That's pretty good for George Springer. All right, cool. So we'll leave both of those guys on the list. Vladdy at 2.5 hits plus runs RBIs is kind of a fun demon card. I was thinking about doing a content piece. Don't hold me to this. I definitely wouldn't start it today. But since I was smacking 4-pick cards last week, it's kind of corny. I was gonna do a 4-play Goblin, 4-play even line, and 4-play demons. So I can do 3 4-pick cards a day. One, the safety, the 1-to-1, and the demons. What's up, Sask? You like Ryan O'Hearn fantasy points? I'm with that. We haven't got to that game yet, but he's typically pretty consistent in that cleanup spot, right? That's part of the expectation. Are we going too slow? Should I be speeding it up? I don't know. 3 o'clock. I guess we're fine. All right, next. Do we do projections? Yeah. Next game. Royals and the Marlins. 3.9 run total for the Royals. That dropped almost half a run since last night. And the Marlins, 3.8. Seth Lugo taking on Sandy Alcantara. Possibly Sandy's last game as a Marlin. Possibly. We'll see. Projected lineup is now a confirmed lineup. Jonathan India, Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Garcia Salvi, Jack Caglianone, who has not been playing to the back of his minor league card so far, Nick Lofton, John Rave, and Kyle Isbell. Taking on Xavier Edwards, Jesus Sanchez, Otto Lopez, Augustine Ramirez, Kyle Stowers, Liam Hicks, Dane Myers, Graham Pauley, Nick Fortes. Seth Lugo feels like the more appealing option here, but I'll tell you what, man, this Marlins lineup, now that we've kind of tightened the screws on our sample size, where's the strikeouts at, man? Have they been that team? Team batting average, team batting stats. Overall K rates, Miami has been 12th. And then against righties, they've been 11th. So there must be some people not in the lineup today. Jonah Bride, Matt Mervis, Derek Hill, Stowers at 30%. Is that what I got here? Yeah. So all of the big K guys for the Marlins lineup. Kind of out. Interesting. But it's all right. It's not that we play Lugo for a ton of K rates anyway, or a ton of strikeouts anyway. But he does have a pretty solid enough ground ball rate. Finds his way around the barrel, and maybe his park is helping him out, but Lone Depot should do him a couple favors as well. really low run total for both teams, and maybe even more so. Like Lugo's a little on the lucky side, right? 4.58 expected ERA with a 2.67 actual ERA. Meanwhile, Sandy Alcantara has just been bad. Almost a 5 expected ERA, playing to a 7+ actual ERA. So the fact that we saw these run totals drop overnight is kind of like, what? Like, if anything, I expect maybe a little bit more steam to come in on these guys on the over, but maybe particularly, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it theoretically feels like a park boost for Kansas. If anything, it's a lateral. But both of these pitchers are beatable, and both of these lineups can score. Much like the White Sox situation, the Marlins lineup kind of looks a little more fun, but Lugo is a little bit more talented, I think, especially this season, than Sandy. So, man, this could be a sleeper game. This Royals lineup kind of sucks, though. So maybe that, I don't know, maybe that plays a part. Let's put some projections in. Seth Lugo. Let's go 18% on his K rate. For Sandy, let's go 17.3. Actually, Lugo should be 22. Why did I do 18? That's not fair. 7.75. A lot of combustible elements here, but I guess the offenses are stagnant enough. But man, that Marlins lineup, I mean, there's a lot of green and a lot of low K rates. 17.5. Maybe we give Sandy the benefit of the doubt. Look at his stuff plus game log. I don't know, man. For Sandy to be this rough on around the edges, results wise, stuff plus has been normal. 106 cumulative. So that's a stat we've been talking about in the Discord. Or it feels imperfect. And then swing and strike rate's been pretty low. I don't know. Use what he is. Let's give them both a little shot at the QS. Kind of leave them hanging. I don't think I want to shop this game for props. It's just nothing screaming at me. If we want to pick on Lugo this season, he has a home run problem in the lefties. Maybe Jesus, Sanchez, Stowers. Stowers especially, almost a 300 ISO. Got to get around that 30% K rate, which you can kind of do here with Lugo. How high on the bond detector did he end up? He's top 10, 4.26. I'm gonna let that sit. I'm gonna let that simmer. Let it be. Get to the next game, Reds and Mets. Reds run total 3.5, Mets 4.2. It's another game that's diminished in run value. Reds lineup: TJ Friedl, Matt McClain, Ellie. I don't want to preach, but Ellie De La Cruz should be your leadoff hitter. Like, the only reason you should have a guy with that talent not as your leadoff guy is if you can surround him with decent OBP guys. And you can't do that with this lineup. at least in this split with Austin Hayes, maybe there's something to be said. But move them all up. Like, what the freak? Like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? But Ellie, we've watched him be intentionally walked in a few games, and they just haven't been able to punish him, particularly when you got a righty up there. Lindor, Mark Vientos, Soto, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Ronnie Mauricio, Jeff McNeil, Tyrone Taylor, Luis Torrens. Mets were pretty well represented, I guess, at All-Star Week. Lodolo taking on Sean Manaea. Manaea feels like he hasn't pitched that much. Because he hasn't. 3.1 innings on the season. On July 13th. So we can dig into last season. Look, he's got a negative xFIP against righties. I feel like that's not going to hold. But all things equal, feels like he's not going to have enough pitches in the tank to bank on him on a full slate. So I'm not. And then Nick Lodolo, 22% carried on the season, almost a 4 expected ERA. The Mets, as a unit, have 4 guys with positive WRC pluses this season in this split, but this is just not a team I'm ever going to get behind pitching against, especially with a weak pitcher, weak offense. But to give Lodolo some respect, the Mets have just a 4.2 run total, even considering the Reds bullpen being a little lesser. So yes, the Mets stack would be probably the first thing I go to on the 4-way, but I at least appreciate Lodolo enough to not look at him as a gas can, and maybe this is a little jet lag game for the Mets after the week they had. So I don't think I'm gonna shop this game for props, but we do have to put a projection in. Lodolo 21.9. But Frankie Lindor, Soto, Alonso, those are 3 guys that I like the most if I was shopping props, but that's so chalky. Alonso, obviously, is Alonso. I'm going to go with 25% carry rate on Manaea. I'm not going to list him for 40. Walk rate, let's put a 5er. And then for Manaea, let's give him an 8. And Lodolo 17.5 for his out. 17. Wow, okay. And then Manaea, who said we went 3 innings, so let's give him 4. Let's give him a 12 out projection. I'll give Lodolo 2 towards a QS. A lot of lineups starting to roll in. All hits, runs, RBI props I like: Judge, Olsen, Alonso, Caminero, McMahon. I'm with it. All right, next up, Athletics and the Guardians. Both lineups confirmed. We got Lawrence Butler, Jacob Wilson, Mr. Kurtz, Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom, Shea Langoliers, Miguel Andujar, Max Muncy. Why did I just lose a game? What happened? Okay. That was weird. The game just like disappeared on my screen. I thought I got postponed or something. But here we go. And Denzel Clark. All right, I forgot to do something when I updated stats, so I think I need to do it real quick while I'm thinking about it. So I used to have to add ATH to Max Muncy's stats so it wouldn't pull the Dodgers, but since that one is not with us anymore, rest in peace, I just delete that one from the stats. Will tighten the screws on Max Muncy's stats. Yeah, I think we did. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Athletics lineup confirmed, and so is the Guardians. Guardians lineup. Angel Martinez batting leadoff. Has that not been Stephen Kwan ever for the first time this year? Oh, Stephen Kwan's just not in the lineup. I mean, that is when the game plan to beat the Guardians is get Stephen Kwan out and don't let Jose Ramirez hit a homer. And now you just took out half of that blueprint. God dang, dude. I've never wanted to play JP Sears. And I don't want to play JP Sears. But if I was going to play JP Sears, yikes. I mean, this is, whew. At least in Kwan's absence, Angel Martinez has some green to his name. But god dang, 30% K rate, 30%, 30%, 30%. Jeez. This is rough. Run totals here. I think I gotta adjust that. 3.9 for the Athletics, 4.3 for the Guardians. Is there something behind Angel Martinez that we could get behind? Do we have any confidence in Angel Martinez? Leadoff spot, no fantasy prop. Dang. Dang. Do not erase the better Muncy. Hey, man. I have to do it every day. Slate Sassoni. 24% K rate for him. 4.76 on the expected ERA. A little bit more lucky than those numbers. A 12.2% barrel rate. You could square him up. He's facing a talented Athletics offense. But this ain't Sutter Health. This is Progressive Field, which plays better to lefties than righties, especially this season. 6% above average in homers to lefties so far. So, Nick, dramatic pause. Kurtz is in a good spot. He's going to get around that 32% K rate. And then Tyler Soderstrom also maybe in a decent spot here. We're going to look at the bond detector, see how high the Athletics crawl. The highest Athletic in the bond detector is Kurtz. No surprise. So if you wanted to get there, that's where I would go. And then JP Sears, man, to his credit, getting lefties out, but he's only going to face two lefties. A lot of righties, so we can dive into this 18% K rate, this almost 2 homer per 9 to righties. Again, maybe influenced by Sutter Health, but you go to last year, the last 2 years in the Coliseum, he was allowing power to righties. The pushback here is, man, this Guardians team is very, very putrid when you get around Jose Ramirez. Carlos Santana has a little life in his stats, and then, like I said, Angel Martinez is somebody that might take advantage of this leadoff spot. Does Angel Martinez, we don't even get a fantasy prop, so I was going to say, does Angel Martinez steal for us? And this is, naturally, I would want to get, I would be interested in Jose Ramirez, but it's just like, why even pitch to Jose Ramirez in the year 2025 with this roster? Let's go to game log. Stolen bases. It's 6 stolen bases, 7 attempts. It's not nothing. And then, what's the sample on this split? 83 at bats. I'll take it. 300 average. Was that? Has he been in the majors for a minute? Last year, 257, 35 at bats. So, is it in his pedigree to have this crazy success against lefties? Let's go to last year in the minors. 286 average last year in the minors against lefties. Not a ton of power. 7 doubles. So what is that? 357 slug. So yeah, not a ton of power at all in the minors. But in the majors, 200 ISO, 850 OPS. It's not nothing. The year prior, 300 average. So he does. It is in his DNA in the minors to hit lefties for good average. 535 slugs the year before. So I don't know what happened in 2024. He was just not hitting for pop. But his OPS was fine. What am I looking at? How do you have a... I guess so. 374 on base, 357 slug, 731 OPS. I'm with it. Do we nominate anything for Angel Martinez? I think hits plus runs plus RBIs is the only thing. Oh wait, we got a fantasy prop. That just I swear that wasn't there a minute ago. You know what happens when you're leading off against JP Sears? Batting 300. You know what happens? You just made the list. All right, 5.5 fantasy points for Angel Martinez. It's something we're gonna nominate. We're gonna nominate it. We don't have to lock it in. We're gonna nominate it. Yeah, this is bad pitching versus bad hitting. It's rough. I usually always lean towards the bad hitting. But this is the litmus test. God dang. This is tough. I will take Angel Martinez. And we have shown that the Athletics have the worst bullpen. So I'm going to go with Martinez fantasy points. A single and a run could screw us, but I'm going to go with Angel Martinez fantasy points. Did we do the pitcher projections for that? We did not. So for Sears, we're going to really lean into his righty splits with just one lefty or two lefties. Let's go 20% carry. And then for Slade, we'll go 24.1. Yeah, no, they just suck. Some of them do K a lot, but yes, they don't even, when they put the ball in play, it's not great. This has to be the lowest BABIP team in history, right? Like, what am I looking at? This just screams negative launch angle. 026 ISO with a 211 batting average. That just seems impossible. How are you doing? How are you doing that? Whatever. 3. Let's go 5% walk rate. Slade. Let's go 7.8. 17 and a half. 15 and a half. Wait, who was that for? Yeah, 15 and a half. 17 and a half. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. JP Sears arguably one of the worst pitchers on the slate, one of the worst bullpens on the slate, and it can hard to muster 4 implied runs. Hey man, just give me a good outing from Angel Martinez. Dagnabbit. Speaking of give me a good outing, Yankees facing the Braves. All right, a little bit of rain in this one. The report from Roth was actually pretty encouraging. Said a little cluster of shower storms around early could cause a brief late start or early in-game delay, but most likely outcomes here are either a fully dry game or an uninterrupted 9 innings after a brief late start. So keep that in mind. Yankees confirmed lineup: Trent Grisham, Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, Jazz Chisholm, Jason Dominguez, Ben Rice, Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, Jorbit Viva. So it's good to see them giving Giancarlo Stanton some time off. We know he's had a busy season and busy week. What the freak is that about, man? Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna batting third, Drake Baldwin, Sean Murphy, Ozzie Albies, Nacho. I think Nick Allen was with the Yankees for like half a season. 4 implied run total, 4.6. We got Ian Hamilton on the bump as the opener for the Yankees. So another team rocking an opener. First game back from the All-Star break. Profar doesn't have enough sample this season. That's funny. I forgot he got suspended. So with the Yankees bullpen, they're not as good as they once were, but they are fully rested. As a matter of fact, I've heard some crazy names on their shop list, including former Yankee. I think I heard D-Rob as a name. But these are options, right? Ian Hamilton, Jonathan Loizaga, who has not been super sharp this season. Rue Baker, I think he used to start for Milwaukee or Pittsburgh, something like that. Scott Efros, you really just don't know what you're going to get here. You get into the upper echelon arms, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, and it's lights out, but it's really not. but yeah. So much like the Phillies side, you're kind of betting on talent with your guys here. And then Spencer Strider, 29% K rate for him on the season, 3.89 expected ERA. He has been Spencer Strider. And I believe last night when I was looking, he had a 7.5 K prop, which I don't think I've seen against the Yankees. But we did take out Stanton from the lineup. Let's see if it's still up there. It is at 8. So yeah, it actually went up. And I can't really argue against it, right? Spencer Strider gets a 23.2% aggregate K rate. So let's just put some projections in here. We'll matriculate on. Let's go 27% K rate for Hamilton. For Strider, we'll go 29. Walk rate, 10.5. Let's go 12. Strider, we'll go 9. And then for outs, I don't know what to give Hamilton. I think I'm just going to give him 5.5, see what happens, and then 17.5 for Strider. And we'll give Strider a shot at the QS. That's pretty fair. It's a bad spot for sliders. Jeez. Yeah, it is pretty rough. Judgy and Belly. Yeah, this could be an ugly game. A little jet lag game for the Yankees. A lot of those guys were part of the All-Star festivities. And you guys saw what Jazz did in the home run derby. If you missed it, no, you didn't. Okay. All right. So Strider's in a good spot at 9K. I guess I haven't been keeping up with these lists, but offensively, though, for the Braves, like I said, we're betting on talent. Matt Olson. Lefties out of the Yankees pen, I know Tim Hill. And that's it. So Matt Olson probably gets a righty in most every at-bat. Maybe he gets one against Tim Hill. Not that Olson loses steam against lefties, right? Why did I put 4 there? 4 here. 6. Matter of fact, does he have reverse splits this season? He does. So, yeah. Maybe there's something there for Matt Olson. Hamilton against lefties, 4.53 xFIP, 21% K rate, 2 on the home run per 9. And Matty Ice batting second. So you could get 6.5 fantasy points or 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs, which is probably where I would go for him. Because he's going to get that positive split all day in front of Ronald Acuna, too. Would kind of hope that a higher OBP guy was in front of him to make his hit matter. So you're kind of banking on his hit leading to a run instead of like hitting a guy in, and that's the opposite of what I like in my hits plus runs plus RBIs. Like Kyle Schwarber, I love the fact that he's got Trey Turner in front of him, Bryce Harper behind him, so he's got both sides. Feels like this sandwich is one-sided for Olsen, so maybe I don't run to that, but it's still a good spot. Especially if you want the fantasy points, it's there too. Let's move on. Orioles in the Rays down there in Tampa. Got Jackson Holiday, Jordan Westbrook. I said Westbrook. Is there a Jordan Westbrook in sports? That name sounds like it should be. Gunnar Henderson, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, Colton Cowser. Jordan Westbrook. Why is that? That's a name. I didn't just make that name up. That's a name. Somebody has that name. Something. Is he like a random receiver? Orioles run total. What did I miss? Oh, what the freak? I'm typing Twins right now. Dude, there's something happening on Labs where games keep flopping. So I just went to like typing the Orioles lineup. It's doing it again. All right, let me. Let's do that. Holiday, Westberg, Henderson, O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins, Kobe Mayo, Jacob Stallings. Dude, I was really like going through it, and then it started showing me Twins. Rays lineup: Chandler Simpson, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, Junior Caminero, Josh Lowe. This feels like a different makeup lineup for them, right? Same guys, but pretty different order. 4.4 run total for the Orioles, 4.8 for the Rays. What's the weather looking like down there? Normal. All right, so lead off Chandler Simpson. We got to see if there's a fantasy prop for him. It's 6.5. That could be a problem. In this split, Charlie Morton against lefties walks lefties at a 13.2% clip. Now, you would love to see Simpson be able to walk more to feel better about that. But in the leadoff spot, to have the fastest guy in baseball have 4 to 5 implied attempts. What's their stolen bases at 6? It's 5. So if he steals, he's likely scoring. And if he gets on, if he steals, that means he got on, right? So 6.5. Interesting. What is his? This is pretty obscure, but is there stolen base props listed on? Here it is. Chandler Simpson is at plus 140. O'Neal Cruz is 195. That's interesting. So plus 140. I think we nominate Chandler Simpson's fantasy points. Yeah, like they don't even offer stolen base on PrizePicks. $140, yeah, right? 140 is kind of wild. They were saying it's better to use FIP instead of XFIP because XFIP means everybody's defense is the same or something like that. Yeah, it neutralizes the moving variables. Yeah, you almost never. I mean, I don't know. Their stolen base market is pretty dry tonight, but I think for their demons, they look for a certain window, and 140 is not it. But yeah, I don't split the atom on the XFIP versus FIP. I always felt like FIP was more like I don't know. It's all every stat has its pros and cons. But yeah, no two defenses in baseball are built the same. And usually those numbers are going to be pretty close. Usually, not always. Sometimes it's pretty different, but did we do a projection here? We did not. Charlie Morton, 23.1. Taj Bradley, 20.4. Charlie Morton, walk rate. Oh, we're going to tax him there. 9. Taj Bradley, walk rate 9. Let's go with an out projections. $16.5, $15.5. Did I get that backwards? Bradley's 16. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's all like whatever. Paralysis by analysis. I would never like I don't know. Like same with like expected ERA and Sierra. Like usually they're gonna be close, but it's not always. Like sometimes you'll see a pretty like in this game, Taj Bradley a 3.6 expected ERA, but a 4.29 Sierra. Whereas Charlie Morton only has 0.1 difference in his expected ERA and Sierra. So usually it's going to be close enough that I don't really care. And I don't really have it. But I like to just know, okay, this is this, that, blah, blah. There's a slight difference. But it's not going to reinvent nothing for me. Hey, pitching-wise, we touching this game? I don't know. It looks like Orioles, man, goodness gracious. ISOs are through the roof here. Taj Bradley does have some power problems, particularly to lefties. Since the beginning of last year, over $1.25. His ground ball rate to lefties this year has been pretty high, though, so you kind of have to deal with that. But if you can, somebody mentioned Ryan O'Hearn right there in that cleanup spot in the middle of two guys batting over 300 in this split. But Laureano, I'm not too enamored with that this season, but a lot of high ISOs, a lot of high OPSs. So somebody mentioned O'Hearn earlier. I don't think that's a bad call right there in the middle of things at 5.5 fantasy points on a team in a good park. I guess the run totals here is a little bit lower than I may have thought, but I guess both pitchers have been solid enough. Charlie Morton has been Mr. Get Me Over, but we're pushing 90 degrees out there in that Steinbrenner field. So I don't think that's a crazy look. Though I think both offenses could be fun here. But I'm gonna probably not add Orioles to the card. But there's a lot to like. What's up, Lorenza? Here. What's up, dude? How is Carolina, Virginia? I feel like I want to say Virginia or Carolina. I know you used to send me pictures. You sent me pictures of the wedding on the beach, right? I believe that's Carolina, but I don't know if you're from Carolina. How you been, dude? Tigers and the Rangers. We got a 4.3 run total for the Tigers, 4.4 for the Rangers. Reese Olson taking on Patrick Corbin. Tigers going to Globe Life, home of All In. Patrick Corbin, 4.61 expected ERA. He has been a story of some splits. Against righties, 280 plus average allowed, $1.25 home run per 9 allowed. Against lefties, not as much, and this is a Tigers team that's going to come out pretty righty heavy. We got Riley Green, Zach McKinstry as the two projected lefties, so we might be something here to get involved with. I have not grown into pitching Patrick Corbin. Reese Olson, low average or respectable average to both sides of the plate so far. Higher xFIP to lefties, does allow a bit more fly balls and hard contact to lefties this season versus last year. The Rangers give you a couple of guys you can lean on with a little bit of trust for that. It's namely Corey Seager, but we do have Josh Smith, who has an 845 OPS, low K rate as well, so maybe a little handcuff opportunity there. Neither pitcher screaming at me. Let's go put a projection in for them. Reese Olson, we're going to go 22.8. For Mr. Corbin, we're going to do 18.8. Walk rate here for Olson, I'm going to go 8.5. And for Corbin, we'll go 7. Let's go check some outs. 15.5, 15.5. That was Virginia. Okay, all right. My brain, man. I'm losing my memory a lot lately. I've been noticing that. So, a little challenge there. But I did it. For props, let's look at the guys we just mentioned. Smith and Seager. Actually, I really don't care. I really don't love that. Is there some top end righties we would get behind? Jahmai Jones, potentially batting third, and Gleyber Torres. Gleyber was in the All-Star festivities, yeah. Let's see. Let's go Detroit. Pretty low fantasy prop for a leadoff guy, though, for Josh Smith, if you can get around that. 5.5 fantasy point prop for Spencer Torkelson. Maybe batting around the cleanup spot. That's not crazy. That's an RBI double, yeah. Or, no, RBI double. A double's 5, right? Yeah, so it is an RBI double. Gleyber's at 6.5. Interesting. Hits plus runs plus RBIs. Here's another example of, like, Javi Baez. His line is 1.5 hits plus runs RBIs, but his fantasy line is 3.5. Well, you know what I mean? I guess with Gleyber, you'd either have to take his 2.5 or his fantasy. So I'd probably lean fantasy prop for Gleyber. And nothing is screaming at me. Maybe when that lineup comes out, I'll feel different. What's Jahmai Jones? Is Jahmai Jones even, like, got anything? Is he even on the website? 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. I don't know about that one. I'm thinking Glaber or Torkelson if I had to get there. But Glaber, it would probably be hits plus runs plus RBIs. I think. And I don't know if I'm going to force that. Actually, no, it won't. It would be fantasy points. I lied. But I probably don't want to force that. Learned everything I know from Gun. Amazing, but one of them... Man, I'll stop it. But keep going. Just kidding. Yeah, hey, man, this might be the last year for the baseball grind. I don't know, man. All this crazy tax news. All right, we got to go to Coors for the Rockies and Twins. Byron Buxton, Ryan Jeffers, Willie Castro, Correa. Thank you, France, for the Statue of Liberty. Harrison Bader. Royce Lewis. Dude, what is going on? That Labs keeps freaking, okay? I don't know how to make it stop doing that, but mid-typing names, it's like switching teams on me. Brooks Lee, Christian Vasquez. All right, cool. Green light. The Minnesota Twins have a 6.3 implied run total. The Rockies of 5. Rockies lineup not out yet. We got Chris Paddock taking on Kyle Freeland. Freeland, this season, 327 average to righties. Last year, 285 to righties. Both seasons, a 1+ home run per 9. Has not been as atrocious as keeping the ball in the park to righties this season, but it could be a little bit of luck because it's not like we saw a huge increase in ground ball rate. It did go up 5%, but the hard contact is up. The barrel rate, I guess, is down 2%. So even though they're hitting it hard, maybe they're not barreling it up. With that said, this Twins lineup, it's got a couple of guys that can put some bat on ball, and Byron Buxton's having himself a season, and he's in a leadoff spot. So I would imagine, I haven't looked, but if I was PrizePicks, his fantasy point line leading off in Coors should be like at least 9.5 fantasy points. Let's go see what it actually is. It's just not even offered. What do we get from anything on the Twins? Minnesota. I need to order some lunch to be here by the time I'm done blabbering, because yeah. Do we even have fantasy points? Am I tripping? Hitter, pitcher. This game not give us fantasy points? It didn't. Hitter fantasy score is not even an option for this Coors game. So hits plus runs plus RBIs. I mean, you got to pay a premium here if you want a piece of it. There's a place called Velvet Taco I've been eating off of the last couple days. Might do that again. Yeah, if I'm looking at this lineup, I want Buxton, Castro, Correa. I mean, Jesus. You don't get nothing here. Maybe later they'll unlock some fantasy points. Maybe they give us first 5 fantasy points. No. Yeah, I don't know. There's really nothing there to get super happy about then, huh? Let's go put a pitcher projection. Jones was a lefty matcher? Jones. Oh, Jahmai Jones? Yeah. Yeah, Jahmai might be somebody to... Would like a fantasy line, but 1.5 hits plus runs RBIs. I don't hate that. Being behind Glaber, high OBP, being in front of likely a Riley or a Torkelson. So that's fair. And then in the minors, yeah, he was smacking them. 567 slugging, 970 OPS this season. Last year, since lefties, 883 OPS. So I'm with you on looking his way. He also has some stolen base potential. Or no, he doesn't. I'm an idiot. Columns, they're hard. Jahmai Jones. What was the kick returner from the Ravens years back? Ravens kick returner. Jacoby Jones. All right. That wasn't racist. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. That's just not. Take tours and forget about it. Forget about it. I'm kind of interested in Jahmai Jones. I wish they gave me like fancy props. All right. Do we want Hawaiian Brothers, Taco Bell? I want something light though. I don't want to go crazy. Oh, it's gonna be a long night. All right, I'm gonna write down Jahmai Jones. I'm hoping for fantasy points to come up. But for now, we go hits plus runs plus RBIs as the candidate. For now. That 2-hole spot, a lot of opportunity. If that lineup confirms that way. Or 3-hole, not 2-hole. Actually, I don't know. Sometimes they do lead off Glaber against lefties, so I don't know. We'll see. All right, we got to finish this Rockies projection. Chris Paddock, 16.4%. Kyle Freeland, 16.8. Walker rate at 6%. Kyle Freeland, 5. Out projections, 15.5, 15.5. That gives, what's the earn run tax here? Dude, that gives Freeland a 3.62 earn run, implied earn run. You either got to take 2.5 or 4.5. No even money. All right. Cardinals and the D-backs. 4.4 run total for the Cardinals. 4.8 for the D-backs. One thing about the D-backs I noticed this morning, and I noticed it earlier this season too, but they're coded as D-backs on some stat sources, and it's annoying. Like it's the Diamondbacks, but that's what they're. Neither lineup is confirmed, but we got Andre Payante taking on Brandon Pfaadt. Payante, 15.1% K rate, 4.2 expected ERA. Really not a guy you attack for DFS as far as playing him. And he's not a guy you want to attack for offense either because of this column. 60% ground ball rate to righty so far this season, 66% last year to lefty, or this year to lefties. He does allow homers, but you kind of have to understand that you're going to be facing an extreme ground ball guy. So if you love the bat swing, the swing paths, the potential of some of these D-backs players, especially the ones with speed, I wouldn't talk you down from that ledge, but a sub 5 run total for the D-backs at home kind of tells you that they're giving him a little bit of credit to Payante's ability to keep the ball on the ground. He does allow more hits to righties, and this D-backs lineup right now is coming out pretty lefty heavy with the switch hitters involved as well. So could be a troll spot for the D-backs against Payante. So I'm kind of just gonna leave that off the card for now. Let's go put a projection in for Payante fat. We're gonna go 19.5. And with this many lefties, we might be able to get into a little bit more on the lefty split. So we're gonna go 16% carry rate. We'll go 15.5% carry rate. And for fat, we'll go. Actually, I did that wrong. 15.5 right there. We want walk rate. Jesus. 6, 7. So we're gonna go 7. And for fat, we're gonna go 5.2. Outs 16.5, 16.5. Cool. All right, we're gonna do the nachos again. They've just been so good. That's such a good deal. Wait, take that heat sauce with you though. I don't want that crap. Check it out. Check it out. Deliver. Next game on the docket, we got the Brewers taking on the Dodgers. Quinn Priester taking on Tyler Glasnow. 18.8% carry rate for Priester. Buck and a quarter on the whip. 3.73 expected ERA. Ground ball in his way to getting the Brewers through. But man, much like Payante, he's got a little tough task ahead of him here against the Dodgers. 6.2 run total. So they're expected to get through to him. And his 52 to 62% ground ball rate. So let's just start the party off with his pitching projection, 18.8%. With Glasnow, we're going to put his 29% K rate. Glasnow is 23 innings into his season now, and kind of got to bubble wrap him. But he did go through 5 innings, 85 pitches on July 9th against these Brewers. So that's a good sign. We might be able to push him to 95. We've not seen Dave Roberts and the Dodgers be ultra aggressive with their pitching. Matter of fact, we've seen them keep using quad A pitchers in lieu of speeding these guys up. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So 5 innings would, if he went through 5 and got yanked again, I wouldn't be surprised. But it does look like progressively, we wouldn't be shocked to see 90 plus pitches out of Glasnow today. And we know when Glasnow is at his best, he is an elite swing and miss guy. On the season, a sub 10% swing and strike rate. So let's kind of see if we're seeing some progression on those numbers. So let's go to game log. Let's go play discipline, and let's look for swing and strike. Yeah, so his last 3 outings, swing and strike rate has been well above 10%. So these 2 outings before going down to injury, the Cubs, the Phillies, 2 tough matchups anyway, are really holding his season numbers down. And in the last 3 starts, I guess it's really not fair to look at anything. I don't know. It's Glasnow. We know what we're getting. AK on DraftKings. Pretty intrigued. Because when he is at his best, he's one of those matchup-proof kind of strikeout guys for me. So I'm interested at AK. 9,600 on Fanduel. Really can't bank on that 6th inning. It's very possible, but can't bank on it. So let's put the walk rates in here. Let's go 8.5. And I'll give him a 10%. I don't think he's going to be a 13% walk rate guy. What kind of outs we're getting here? 15.5, 15.5. So I would say it's possible to flirt with the over if they offer that of 15.5 outs, right? Just looking for some positive. If they even offer it, they do 15.5 outs, right? So now that he has gone 15 outs, and we might could see his pitch count go up another 10 to 95. That's a thought. I'm not gonna do it, but it's a thought. If you start chasing some losses later, because we also saw him waste some pitches here on three walks. But if he goes 5 and that 5th one is stressful, I can see Dave Roberts just sitting him down. But there's some interest there if I had to. Bomb detector. Ohtani does come in 3rd. Andrew Vaughn, ironically, is 1 against Glasnow. And I'm not sure I understand how that happened. Glasnow, I guess a 61% fly ball rate this season isn't helping. That's how it happened. High fly ball, high hard contact, high barrel rate. Hasn't actually given up a bunch of homers, but the batted ball data behind what the bomb detector likes is there. But I expect that to regress because those are just anomalic numbers out of him. Right? Let's see. Splits. Batted ball data against righties. Game log. Is there a game log batted ball data tab? There has to be, right? There it is. Yeah, it looks like there was a lot of fly balls before he took his injury timeout. Pull rate in that Pittsburgh game was. So I just think he's a victim of small sample with an injury. So I'm not going to actually think Andrew Vaughn is one of the most likely to homer guys today. And that's all I got to say about that. All right, last game on the docket. And then we'll sweep some lineups and maybe put this card in. Brandon Walter taking on Louis Castillo. 3.6 run total for the Astros, 4.1 for the Mariners. Brandon Walter, 24% K rate on the season. Striking out righties more than lefties. Little reverse splitty. I think he was the guy that the spreadsheet really liked against the Guardians, and it came through. Just kind of a low run total game out there in T-Mobile. Not much to run after, especially for the Astros. 3.6 run total against Castillo, and his 4.45 expected ERA against righties, 24% K rate. He's a guy that does have extreme splits, and he's facing an Astros team still without Yordan Alvarez. Comes out really righty heavy. Now, we do have 2 lefties, but at times we get 1 lefty in this Astros lineup. So this could be one of the better matchups pre-flop as far as splits goes for Castillo on the year. So it makes a lot of sense for Castillo to look pretty good here at T-Mobile. So I'll type in Castillo. Let's put our pitcher projections in here, and then for Castillo, I think we can lean more into his righty splits. But for Walter, I don't know what to do with him. For Walter, we might get. Does Walter just? That seems really weird. That seems like a really extreme split. You know what I mean? Let's go look at his minor league splits. So he was more of a K-per rating against lefties in the minors. He did strike out righties more than a K-per rating. but it just didn't feel right that he was that egregious of a reverse splits guy, you know? Was he like in Japan or Korea or something? Maybe he was Tommy John in 2024. I don't know what the story is with him. The year prior to that, more than a K per inning against lefties, less than a K per inning against righties. So all over the road. But I guess what I'm saying is I might expect him to not be a 13% K rate to, or 18% K rate to lefties guy. And then the Mariners, we know, a team that strikes out quite a bit, but they also feature a lot of power. 520 ISO. What? Dude, I might have to go back to pulling stats from the beginning of last year if you're gonna give me this ridiculous split from Raleigh. What the freak? What did I just read? 520 ISO? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. 244 WRC plus. Come on, man. That's not even real. It's not even real. Is the roof closed in the D-backs game? I would assume that the roof will not be open again this year. But I'll double check it. Usually once you hit the summer, it's never going to be open again. Yeah, it's looking like we're listing it closed. I would assume it never opens again for the rest of the year, unless they like make it to the postseason or something. I guess maybe September could be different, but it would be a while. Missed most of 24 with a rotator cuff and got DFA'd. Dang, that's tough. So he does allow homers to righties, 187 homer per nine to righties. He's got to get around Cal Rowley's 1.235 OPS and 244 WRC plus. That's got to be the dumbest. All right. Let's put a projection in for these guys. I'm going to meet them in the middle. And then for Castillo, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards his righty splits. I'm going to go 22 on the K rate. Let's go 5. Castillo walk rate. 7. Let's go outs. 18.5, 16.5. Was 16, right? I'm tripping. No, okay. And then let's go 4 here. So Castillo looks like he's going to be projected as a top pitching player today. Comes in with a K prop or a K projection of 5.8. That's it. I guess the Astros don't strike out that much, so I'm going to guess he's got a 5.5, 6 K prop then. 6, yeah. All right, let's feature our projections. Strider, Castillo, Walter, Sassoni, Lodolo. Boy, I tell you what, for the league having 5 days off, this is not day one starters, but I guess that they were all part of the All-Star game. And let's get the 3-game early out of this. I feel like there should have been 2 NAs there. Something's not right about that. And then after I launch this, I'll get the we'll sweep some lineups, and then we'll try and punch in this maybe this flex card, yeah. All right, do we go 6? I think because it's flex, we go 6. And we get the promo funds back if we lose. Dodgers come in as your top stack, then the Twins. That's actually an egregious difference. What the freak? How'd that happen? 6.2, no park factors. Rockies, no park factors. 6 point. I guess this WRC plus is more through and through. I don't know. That's actually crazy. It's a big gap, but I get it. All right, let's sweep some lineups here, and then we'll try to finalize this PrizePicks card. Pirates lineup. Tommy Pham's leading off. Hello. Ryan Reynolds. Is this that part of the season where they try to get him traded? I don't get why O'Neal Cruz is batting fifth. Spencer Horwitz goes from projected leadoff to 7-hole. Might run to take his under. What? Nats lineup. CJ Abrams, Wood, Bell, Garcia, Josh Bell, A-Low. Remember, keep an eye on that game's weather. Dalen Lyle, Riley Adams, Jacob Young. Main slate. Giants lineup. Yaz, Ramos, Devers, Chappie, Adamas, Young-Ho Lee, Casey Smith, Dom Smith, Patrick Bailey as projected. We already had a lot of lineups. That's actually pretty convenient. Yankees lineup. Grisham, Belly, Judge, Jazz, Dominguez, Ben Rice, Volpe. I believe I had this too. I just didn't greenlight it. Tigers lineup. I think we're pretty caught up then, actually. Rockies lineup came out. Freeman, Moniak, Jordan Beck, Ryan McMahon, Ezekiel Tovar, Michael Talia, Yanquel Fernandez, Austin Nola, and Ryan Ritter. All right, so we were thinking about Jahmai Jones, and I don't know if we want to wait, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We wrote down exactly 6 potential flex picks. Was there anything from the last 3 games we want to run after with confidence? I'm thinking the Mariners-Astros game, no. Dodgers, certainly, I mean, there's not going to be, like, the Dodgers and Twins are not going to have attackable lines, right? Like, with confident, right? It's all in or all out, kind of 9.5, yeah. Will Smith, actually, Will Smith is a maybe. Batting 300 plus, great RBI spot for Will Smith. That's a maybe. If we didn't like something, 5.5 or 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. I mean, a cleanup hitter, or is he cleanup? I guess the Dodgers lineup isn't confirmed, but potentially cleanup hitter on a 6.2 run total at 5.5 fantasy points. I'm listening. I'm listening. 5.5 FPS, but we gotta wait for the lineup to be confirmed. We did get a Tigers lineup. Might help us with our Jahmai Jones. Glaber is leading off. See, that's what I thought. They lead off Glaber sometimes against lefties. So that's better. Jahmai gets a boost. Bias. All right, we'll green light that. All right, let's start with confidence here. I got nothing against all of these. Chandler Simpson, we're really kind of banking on him to just get on base, but he actually has a 309 average against righties. I think I'm sticking with that. I guess it comes down to, do we like Will Smith's fantasy points right now, not knowing if he's actually cleaning up, but he probably is, over any of these singular props. And I guess if you did, I don't know if Barger and Springer being in the same card is going to get you less odds. Sometimes it'll do that. Maybe you would take Smith over one of these two. And maybe you would keep Springer just for the value of the 2 spot. If we wanted to do that. Where's Barger? And we were, what on Barger? 5.5. That's funny. I mean, he's top of the bomb detector. Or second on the bomb detector. This Vaughn is so fake, though. Also, Churio's up. Yeah, the Brewers are up there because of that small sample on Glasnell's batted ball data. I don't know. What are we thinking? Will Smith, we got to wait around to the end of the night. But I do think that's a fun line. See what it looks like. All right. We did opt in, right? No, we didn't. Opt in. Build lineup. I'm going to go Schwaba. 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. Barger fantasy. Springer fantasy. Angel Martinez fantasy. Chandler Simpson. Does anybody think Will Smith's fantasy prop is better than any of these other ones? And Jamai. Wait, what did we have for Jamai? 1.5 hits plus runs. Wait, was that taken from us? I feel like that was. Am I tripping? We don't have that as an option now. I wouldn't have wrote that down without seeing that, right? Well, I guess we just got forced into Will Smith. All right, fantasy or hits plus runs plus RBIs. Probably hits plus runs and RBIs, yeah. He does have 15% walk rate. Maybe we go fantasy. Dude, I kind of like that Jamai Jones though. What the heck? All right, 20 to 500. If everybody wants to run it, we're going Schwarber, 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. Addison Barger, fantasy points. Springer, fantasy points. Angel Martinez, fantasy points. Chandler Simpson, fantasy points. Will Smith, fantasy points because they took Jamai Jones from us. Boom. All right. That'll do it. I am going to be sitting around getting lineups updated. If you guys got anything else for me, I'll be in the MLBgrind.com premium Discord. If you guys aren't in there, you got nothing else to grind. You might as well grab you some week passes. or month pass or the whatever. Get whatever. Jump into Discord. And I am going to be here until all the lineups lock. And then I will go out and about. Appreciate you guys hanging with me. So the way my schedule's set up for streaming, I do want to stream tomorrow on Saturday. I don't think I've done a Saturday stream in a while. On Fridays and Saturdays, I tend to have to be out really, really late. But the goal right now is to stream tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then I would just rock that same time slot Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday of next week as well. No stream Wednesday, Thursday, or Sunday because day games are not enough games. So tentatively, I'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Otherwise, I'll be around Discord or Twitter. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good one. Good luck. God bless. Go with some money.